Welcome to the Chaos Commanders podcast. I'm Annie, aka Commander A, military wife, mom of two, and seasoned in navigating deployments, juggling schedules, and life's unpredictable missions.
And I'm Caitlin, aka Commander K, solo mom to a busy, neurodivergent teenage boy, business owner, and skilled chaos wrangler.
We're here for the moms who do it all, the sideline CEOs, the late night warriors, the women leading in their homes, businesses, and beyond.
If you've ever felt like you're running a tactical operation just to get through the day, this is the place for you. We're bringing raw, unfiltered conversations, honest insights, and tangible strategies to help you command the chaos like the Wonder Woman you are.
So grab your coffee, wine, or whatever keeps you going, because we're diving in.
Welcome back. Today we are going to kick things right off and learn a little bit more about Annie, aka Commander A. So why don't you start off with telling us the episode theme song and then start telling us a little bit more about your story.
Sure. Our theme song today is one of my favorite songs. It's called Calabria. It features Natasha, Calabria by Ener. We will get that on the playlist so that you can have it. But if you were doing the club scene in the early 2000s, you know this song, you know it well, and people sample it all the time in different songs. So it's one of my favorites, and that is my gift to you for today.
It's a fun one. I like it. So yeah, let's just dive into you and how you came to be Commander A.
Okay. I am born and raised in Des Moines, Iowa. I went to high school. I graduated from Lincoln High School. I'm a rail splitter. And then I had big plans to go to Iowa State University for child psychology. And right before I graduated high school, I tore my PCL. And I knew I was going to have this big knee surgery, and I wasn't sure how I was going to get around campus. So I decided to go to AIB College of Business. And I decided that because my parents actually went there. That's how they met. And at the time it was called American Institute of Business. But yeah, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do when I grew up anymore, and I needed to get it all figured out. So I ended up going to AIB, and I graduated with an associate's in information technology. I do very little with that now. I know what a computer is and how to work on it. That's about it. My military IT husband does all of the computer technology stuff in this house. While I was in school at AIB and going through the surgeries and all of that, I got really interested in the medical field, specifically medical imaging. So right after AIB, I went to Mercy College for radiologic technology. While I was doing that, I got their modalities of medical imaging. So like MRI, CAT scan, ultrasound, and there's another one called nuclear medicine. And I was all in on that one. And so we had to do clinical rotations through all of these different modalities. So I loved nuclear medicine. I love physiology of our bodies. And that one really sang to me. And Mercy had a program for nuclear medicine. So I applied, I got accepted, and I went straight from the radiologic technology program into the nuclear medicine program. And I was also able to work in X-ray while I was going to school for nuclear medicine.
Awesome.
So very cool that I got to have real life experience on top of still being in school. And then after that, life did a whole lot of lifing, and I ended up moving to Rochester, New York. And big shout out to my Rochester peeps. So then I started working X-ray out in Rochester. And I think when I worked for the University of Rochester, Strong Memorial Hospital specifically, but it's all tied together as a research hospital, research school. I think they knew at some point in time, because I was dual certified, that they wanted to send me to their PET-CT unit. And that is where I went about 6 to 9 months after I got out there, which was exactly where I wanted to be. I worked specifically with oncology patients.
Okay.
Probably 80% of our patients were cancer patients.
Wow.
And it was probably one of the most amazing experiences of my life, just being on that side of things. And I mean, you really learn a lot about patient care. When you're taking care of people that are in that position, you're taking care of children, you're taking care of adults, and you're taking care of everything in between. And you're seeing them in their most vulnerable state. Some of them have had it for a really long time. Some of them have just been diagnosed with cancer. So it changes how you care for a patient, that every experience that this patient is going through is a brand new experience. And so you have to approach that in a way that it's never light. You never handle it light. Like you need to explain everything to the fullest. And it really changed my outlook on patient care, on how people take care of me, how people take care of my children. And I am really demanding in that like, explain things to my kids, you know?
Yeah.
So it was really great. And I got into martial arts, which was a really great balance for me. It's a heavy load, right? Like, you go home at the end of the day and you carry your work with you, which you really shouldn't, but it's hard to disassociate that. So right. I think getting into martial arts really helped me to let that go and let me have my own headspace and do my own thing. And even if it was a hard day, I could go and hit a bag or something or spar.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a career where it's hard to separate yourself from what you're going through and what your patients are going through. And you probably needed an outlet to relieve the stress and have some self-care, even if martial arts sometimes doesn't seem like self-care to people. But
it is. It's self-care.
It is, especially for Annie, guys.
Yeah, so I was doing mixed martial arts out there. And with Team Andrello, it was Impact Martial Arts at the time. And that was like life-altering for me, life-changing. I got to learn so many amazing things, self-defense. It was just incredible. And the family that I built with doing martial arts was just absolutely incredible. I highly recommend everybody, adult, child. I think every child should have to go through some form of martial arts before they're 18, because it just changes your whole view on things. And to be able to know how to defend yourself, that's absolutely huge.
Yeah.
And child, adult, man, woman, like, you should be able to know how to defend yourself, because it's a wild world out there.
Very true.
I have to pay homage to Rochester and their garbage plate. That saved me many a days of going out with friends.
Do explain.
A garbage plate. So, like, after a night of going out with your friends and doing friendly activities and having a few drinks and all of that dancing, you need something greasy, right?
Yes.
So that you can go to bed that night. So a garbage plate is usually it's 2 cheeseburgers, but you can do hot dogs too. They call them red hots and white hots out there. And they smother that with this meaty sauce. I don't really know how to explain it. We will attach a picture. It looks like vomit. And it is the most life-saving, amazing thing ever in the world. We'll attach a picture to our blog so you can see what we're talking about. So they throw this in a lovely biodegradable styrofoam container. And on the side are home fries, which are, if you're not familiar with, those are just like the cube potatoes.
Yeah.
And then macaroni salad.
Oh, wow.
And the potatoes have the meat sauce stuff. It's a mess, and it is delicious, and it saves your life. And the garbage plate, that's what Rochester is pretty famous for.
Okay. You learn something every day, and today it is the garbage plate.
But the other amazing thing about Rochester is that is where I met my husband. It was through martial arts. My friend Marissa and I, we would always get teamed up. We went through martial arts together. We actually got our black belts together. Hey, Marissa, I'm throwing you in here and I didn't even ask your permission. We were just like instant friends, and everybody thought that we went to high school together. We were like best friends for life, and we're still very good friends. We just had this amazing connection, and we went through the whole black belt journey together in MMA. And it was absolutely amazing. So one night we were, I wish she was here right now to tell me what color belt we were. We were early on, but we were sparring. This beautiful man walks in the door, and I always paid attention when I was sparring, right? Like, it takes kind of an act of God for me to not be paying attention when I'm sparring, and there it was right there. He walked in, And Marissa punched me in the face, and I went down pretty fast. And we have our mouth guards in, and she's like, "What was that? What were you doing?" And I was like, "Did you see that guy walk in here?" And she's like, "Annie, we have 30 seconds left of sparring. Can you just like get yourself together, and then class is over, and you can go drool over this man." And so we get off the floor, and at this time, I'm an assistant teacher at martial arts. I was part of they call it the SWAT team, Students Winning Attitude Team.
Nice.
So they caught wind that I saw this beautiful man, and they partnered me with him. I was his one-on-one.
Perfect.
The headgear that we had, it went over your head, but then there was this Velcro strap that went down like the center of your head. And for girls, it was a really big pain because if the Velcro got in your hair, you got to rip a chunk of hair out of your head.
Ouch.
So I would always wear pigtail buns on my head. And I'm his one-on-one, and I'm like, wow, he's like super cute. And I was trying to throw some hints out there. But also it's his first class, so I don't want to be too overbearing. And so then he starts coming a little more regularly, and I kept throwing all these little hints out there like, hey, I think you're cute. Like, hi.
Aww.
He wouldn't talk to me.
How dare he?
Because he thought I was 16.
No way.
I'm in my late 20s at this time. So anyways, once he found out that I am not 16, we started talking, and the rest is history. We didn't start off like super strong. I wasn't really looking for anything at the time, and it was just really lovely to get to know him. And then after several months, we decided, okay, we want to date each other. And the one thing that really bothered me was that he was in the military. He actually, when I met him, had just gotten home from being in Saudi Arabia for 13 months, I believe. And I was like, you're beautiful and I like you, but I'm not sure that military life is for me. But then at the end of the day, the heart won, and we ended up going on this amazing trip to New York City for my birthday. We had a fantastic week together. I got to meet his brother in Long Island, and it was just amazing. And by the end of that trip, I was like, I'm going to marry this man someday. Like, I'm all in. And we aren't even back for 48 hours, and he gets orders to go to Indianapolis. I just bought a house in Rochester. I am starting my life there. I've been there for several years, but I have my house. And so what do you do? Because nobody buys a house and sells it 6 months later.
Right. Terrible timing.
Yeah, horrible timing. And I'm like, well, how do we do this? And he's like, we can make it work. We can make it work. I'll come back. And like, Indy is not around the corner, by the way. Yeah. It's like 8 hours from Rochester. But we did it. We made it work. At one point, I wasn't so sure that we were going to make it just because the long distance thing for me was really hard. Mm-hmm. You know, we would go weeks and weeks without seeing each other, and like we would make plans to see each other, and then something would come up and he would have to travel for work, and so it would be more and more weeks. And then I went out and visited him, and I wasn't really reading the room, and I was like, man, I think we're probably going to break up. And then we had this amazing weekend together in Indy, and we just talked about, you know, how do we keep making this work? And then I was like, yeah, I'm going to marry him. Like, for sure, we're going to get married someday. Yeah. And then we ended up going on a cruise a couple months later, and that's when he proposed to me. Aww. And so then we were like, okay, how do we, like, we have to be together, right? Yeah. So we have to figure this out. And we had a wedding planned for a year later. And we ended up going to the Justice of the Peace because it was summer, and he was like, what is your hang up with moving? Like, why, we need to get married, if that's what you feel like, we can go to the Justice of the Peace and get married. We don't have to wait until next November to get married. What is your hang up? Yeah. I'm like, do you really want to know? I need health insurance.
Oh my goodness.
So we got married early so that I could, because we had this cruise wedding planned. We had 19 people coming on this cruise for our wedding. And we ended up just making it like a vow renewal on the cruise.
Aww.
So we get married in July.
Yeah.
I moved to Indy a couple of weeks later, looking for jobs and not really finding anything. The job that I had was fantastic. It was Monday through Friday, normal for the most part hours, like no call, no weekend, no holidays. And so we do our cruise and all the things, and then I got pregnant. We had talked about wanting to have kids, and it's a good thing we had that talk because I was already pregnant. Yeah, so then we just decided that I'm pregnant. I don't really want the exposure to the radiation if I don't have to be around that. So I'll just be a stay-at-home mom for now, and life was hunky-dory great. And then he found out he was being deployed. And
oh my gosh.
That was like earth-shattering for me. He had to leave when I was 38 weeks pregnant. Oh. So I was going to give birth by myself.
So you must have just been like absolutely heartbroken.
Yeah, that was really hard. Like, I didn't really know how I was going to do all of this. But what I did have was a really great network. And I was going to a CrossFit gym there, CrossFit Indy. Oh, it was actually called Three Kings CrossFit. And then they changed their name to CrossFit Indy North. And I met some incredible people there. My friend Amy, she's a nurse, and she was just like, okay, this is what we're going to do. Like, he has to go, and I'm going to be him. Because we had done all of this coaching. I wanted to go natural, so we had gotten a doula, and we had gotten all of these like natural birthing classes that we did in home. We were ready to do this thing, and Amy just stepped in and saved the day. And in fact, I'm a really tough stick, and she ended up starting my IV in the hospital.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I had this baby, and it was a Catholic hospital that I had it in, so they were very firm about not recording anything, no videography, but my doctor was fantastic, and she had worked on a military base before, and she just basically said to them, like, he's gone, and he needs to be part of this. We are FaceTiming him in, and that is going to be okay. And so he FaceTimed in, and Amy got me through it, and my amazing doula got me through it. And we have this really incredible first family photo. We'll put it on the blog, but it's me with my daughter Raina on my chest and Andre on FaceTime, and that's our first family photo.
Oh my goodness. So, I mean, totally not what you had planned.
No,
but
not at all.
You figured out a way to, with community surrounding you, which is one of the things that we are going to be working really hard to help people figure out a way to create through stories like this. You found a way to make the best of it, and it's not what you wanted and it's not what you planned for, but thank goodness for that doctor for standing up for you and making that happen so that he could still be a part of it in some way.
Yeah. So, yeah, we had a baby.
Yeah.
And then he was able to come home on paternity leave for 10 days. He actually brought us home from the hospital. The doctor left her umbilical cord a little bit long so that he could actually, it was all dried by then, but he got to cut it a little bit. And then we had this 10 days together of trying to figure out parenthood, which was harder for me than it was for him. And then I had to raise this baby for a year by myself.
By yourself.
And that, like, I saw this quote right before he deployed. So right before I had Raina, I saw this quote, and it said, "You are made to do hard things." And I printed it out, and it has been like my life motto ever since. I printed it out and I hung it on my cabinet in the kitchen, and I looked at it multiple times every day, and I'm like, yes, I am made to do hard things. Mm-hmm. And thank God for that quote, because I cannot tell you how many things it has pulled me through. This military life has been a wild ride. Our children live by that, by the way. They come and complain to me about something, and I'm like, you are made. And they're like, Dad, you are things.
And you even have my son saying it now.
Yes. But it's true. And I think that a lot of people will say it, and then, you kind of smile at the end, because you're like, yeah, I am made to do hard things, and I can get through this. And I have made it through 100% of the hard things in my life.
Absolutely.
All 100%.
100% of them. Yes, you have.
So we got through that. We got through that with our village there. My parents were incredible. They came out a lot. They would fly out and drive, because I didn't want to have to put all this stuff on an airplane and come back to Des Moines. So they would fly out, they would pack up my vehicle, and we would drive back to Des Moines, and I would stay here for a few weeks, and then they would help me drive back, and then they would fly back. And
oh my goodness.
Just amazing and incredible. And everybody in Indy was so fantastic. The people that were there, I wanted to run a half marathon, and I'd never ran a half marathon in my entire life. And I saw the Indy Mini. I watched it on TV, which is a marathon and half marathon, but you run 2 of those miles on the Indy 500 race course.
Oh, how cool.
Yep, super cool. And I always wanted to do it because I saw it on TV and I was training for it. And then I was like, I threw in the towel because it was like 10 weeks to the race. And I was like, I can't do this. Like, I know I'm made to do hard things, but I can't do this. I can't train 12 whatever miles in 10 weeks. I just can't do that. And my friend Alex heard me tell somebody that, and she's like, absolutely not. She's like, do you really want to do this? And I was like, yeah, it's like a bucket list thing for me. And she's like, here we go. This is our training plan for the next 8.5 weeks. This is what we're doing.
Oh,
and it was
awesome.
Really amazing. Andre came home shortly before that race went down, and it was really cool because one of the ways we got through all the miles is every mile I told her something about every month of him being gone. And
that's so cute.
It was really fun. I dedicated each mile to each month that he was gone, and then the 0.5 was for me.
Oh,
so
that's amazing.
So we just sprinted our little hearts out for the 0.5. But Alex, if you're listening, I love you, and thank you for getting me through that, because that is... And then we went on to run a whole bunch of other races because we were ridiculous. But so that was amazing. And we had a few months in Indy before we had to move again, because that's our life, right?
Yep.
That's what we do. So the next place we moved to was Augusta, Georgia.
Okay.
We lived in Grovetown, which was 20 minutes away from the base there, Fort Gordon. It's no longer Fort Gordon, but I forget what they changed the name to. Anyways, Andre was in school, and CrossFit was how I joined the CrossFit at the YMCA there, and again, met another amazing community of people, but I also had the opportunity to study Krav Maga, because there were Krav Maga classes there. Right after I got to Georgia, I had discovered that I broke my foot from a race that I had not that same half marathon, but another one. In the middle of the race, I was with Alex, and my foot just went pop. Oh. And she was like, are you going to take the ambulance out of here, or are we finishing this thing? And I'm like, I'm not a quitter. But I was trying to do it in sub 2 hours. Yeah. And I was on track to do it. And then Andre was following me on an app. And Andre's my husband. I don't think I've clarified that to our people.
Yes, I don't think.
And then he saw the time go down. He's like, something happened. I did not do that race in under 2 hours. I did do it in 2 hours and 20 minutes. And then I found out my foot was broken.
Oh my gosh.
So we had decided in the few months between, right at the end of my training for that race, we were like, yeah, we want to try for baby number 2. I didn't love being pregnant. That was not my favorite thing ever. I wish I was one of those women that was just like, I feel like a beautiful golden goddess. I did not. I was so sick with Raina. I was sick for 32 weeks. I threw up every single day. So I wasn't really excited about having another baby, but Andre really wanted another baby. Like Andre... I think the last thing that my body needs right now is to be pregnant on a broken foot. So let's get my foot thing figured out. You want a boy so bad. Let's adopt. Mm-hmm. And so we no sooner start the paperwork to adopt, and I'm on the phone with my best friend, Raina, who my daughter is named after. And I was like, I think I've just been under a lot of stress, but like my cycle is weird. And she's like, Annie, hang up with me right now and go take a pregnancy test because you're pregnant. And I was like, no, I'm not. This happened the last time I trained this hard for a race, and it's fine. My body's it's stress. I'm stressed. I was pregnant.
Oh.
So yeah, that changed everything. And it was interesting because right before I found out I was pregnant, I had to have a bone scan done, which is a nuclear medicine study. So they injected me with radiation to look at my bones. And that is actually how they found out my foot was broken. And I was pregnant. Yikes. And I didn't know it. And they didn't know it.
Yeah.
Because they had taken a pregnancy test several days prior and it was negative. And so the day of the scan, stupid me, I refused it. But I already had one that said I was not.
Yeah.
Ladies, take the pregnancy test.
Yes.
Okay? Just do it.
Always.
Just do it. So the pregnancy with Joel, our son, was very nerve-wracking. We didn't do an anatomy scan with him until he was almost 22 weeks because that was one of the fears, right? If the pregnancy didn't automatically terminate itself, then we were talking about, is he going to be missing body parts? Is he going to have his whole brain? Is he going to have all of his limbs? And it was a stressful pregnancy, but it actually was a very smooth pregnancy compared to Raina's, where I was just sick every day. And so had him in Georgia. Everything was great. He was perfect. Ornery straight out of the gate. But the magical thing about that is my doctor in Georgia knew our situation with Raina, that Andre was deployed and wasn't there to actually watch his daughter be born.
Yeah.
Our doctor allowed Andre to deliver Joel.
Oh, I love that.
So he was like basically treated like a first year med student.
Yay.
And he did it all. Like, well, I did it all.
Yes, you did. Andre assisted.
He assisted in making sure that child did not fall on the floor.
Yes, he was the catcher.
So because we knew it was our last baby, he brought a bottle of Dom Perignon into the hospital suite. And so we celebrated that way, which was super fun.
Yeah.
Military they don't really want you to move anywhere with a brand new baby if you don't have to.
Okay.
Thank you for being family oriented.
Yeah.
When Joel was 5 months old and was able to get all the things that he needed to get, we moved back to my hometown. We moved back to Des Moines. My husband still rolls his eyes because we had 3 choices. We had Europe, Italy. Uh-huh. We had Hawaii, which is a bucket list place for him.
Yep.
And we had Des Moines, Iowa. And I was like, I just want to go home. I just want to go home. Because if you end up getting deployed again, and now we have 2 kids, I want to be where I have some help. And guess what? He got deployed again.
Oh my goodness.
In 2019, he got deployed to Kuwait. And then the wonderful COVID happened, and that really, it affected everybody, right? But for us, we are on the tail end of this deployment, and we are like counting down to Dad coming home, and we're counting down to being a family again, and that stopped. That completely stopped. And it turned into a lot of really scary things, like he could be there for another 9 months. He may not get to come home at all. And what's going to happen? Like, people are dying, and is he going to die over there? Are we going to die here?
Right.
It was very, very scary. But he ultimately was able to come home in June, and that was incredible to be able to have him back and that reunion and all of that. We actually made the news, the local news here.
That's so sweet.
Played our video, and our whole neighborhood, it was just like an outpour of people. And again, the height of COVID, right? Nobody wants to be together. 60 neighbors lined the streets at 11, like almost midnight, waving flags, sparklers, the whole shebang, welcoming him home, which was so incredible because I didn't really know a lot of our neighbors. It was one in particular woman named Kendra who caught wind. I had put a post out on like our neighborhood Facebook. Yeah. And I was like, hey, I have bagged a bazillion pieces of chalk individually. It's in a bucket on my driveway. I just found out my husband's coming back. I do not have time to decorate my driveway. My house is the house that has a big old sign on the garage welcoming him home. If you could come and write a message to welcome him home, I know he would love it. And it just turned into this amazing reunion of all these people that had no idea who we were, and they just welcomed him back. So talk about community, right?
Yes, that's so amazing. And like, we didn't know you at that time, and I just love that if you had not been in Des Moines, right, if you had not been here and you had picked one of those other places, not that people wouldn't have not that you wouldn't have had community there and had similar things happen, but I'm just so happy that during that experience, since COVID happened and nobody could have anticipated, that you were here and in a place where you had family and you at least had been able to build community, and I'm sure had connections from the past and things like that. So what a perfect scenario to be in such horrible times. So I'm really happy that this is where you ended up.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and then shortly after he came home, we decided we're going to sign Rain up for martial arts.
Yeah.
And that's how we ended up with you guys.
Yeah.
And like kind of the rest is history, right?
Yep.
I did end up going back to work in 2020, October of 2020. I had this really cool opportunity. So my background is healthcare, right? Mm-hmm. So this opportunity was in accounting. But while I was in Rochester, I got to be part of some really cool research studies, cancer research. We had a point of care piece of equipment that we were using on our patients to test their creatinine blood levels so that we could give CT contrast. I was able to be part of a research study. I actually gave a talk at a national conference one year. I was going to be published, and then when I decided to leave Rochester, I signed over those rights to the radiologist that I was working under. But it was such a cool opportunity. But the reason I talk about that is because it was all data entry, working with numbers. Like I was not a math person growing up. I didn't really get into math until I got into X-ray nuclear medicine, because there's calculations that you have to do for your dosing. And so when this opportunity for this accounting job came open, I was like, I'm smart. I can figure things out. I ask questions when I need to ask questions. I think I could do this. And my mom's like, you can absolutely do it. So yeah, I was able to work from home. It started part-time and pretty quickly turned into full-time, and I got to do that for 4 years. Sadly, I was recently laid off in January, the end of January. I'm looking for jobs, but that's a whole other podcast in the future.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's where we're at. To get back to why do we live apart so much? It's a big question that I get. When Joel was a baby, when he was 18 months old, we found out that he had an incredibly severe peanut allergy. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of a God wink that we were matched immediately with one of the few allergists that do peanut therapy or peanut OIT, oral immunotherapy. At the time, there were only 60 doctors that did it in the United States. There are probably a handful more now that do it.
Okay.
But we had to sign a contract stating, so he was little, right? And there's age requirements for it.
Yeah.
But he had a handful of very severe reactions. And with his allergy, what happens with a food allergy is they have the reaction and then they can have what's called a rebound after it. So like you give them the epi and they're okay. And then it cycles back around and it's like bigger and badder than the initial response.
Okay.
And so that is where he was at. There was a situation where he had a reaction. He's at my parents' house. I'm not with him. I'm 20 minutes away from him. My mom has to shoot him with epi. We called 911. They come over and he's stabilizing and they're like, he has to go to the hospital. Do you want us to take him or do you want to take him? We're not even 5 minutes from the hospital at my parents' house. And I was like, you know what? I'll just take him. It's fine. No, it was not fine. He was rebounding. It was really bad. Like I had to leave my car in valet to get him inside, to get him stabilized. Again, wow. Super, super bad. So when we met with our doctor, Dr. Mullis, she's fantastic. Anybody that has an allergy kid in the Des Moines area knows Dr. Mullis. If you don't, look her up and get on her schedule. She's brilliant. So he's about 3 years old at this point, and she's talking to us about this therapy, and she's like, I don't typically take patients under the age of 5. I usually start at age 5 because they have to be able to eat their doses, and it's a requirement. They have to do it every day. And again, now we're back in COVID time. And we're on this year-long wait list. So now we know that we have to wait a year in order for this to happen. I'm freaking out. In 18 months, my kid's going to be going to kindergarten, and we don't have this under control. And once your food allergy kid is out of your hands, anything is fair game.
Yeah.
They know, like you tell people, like they can't have exposure to this, but It happens, right? Andre had just gotten home. We get this phone call. There's an opening. But, like, it's also the height of COVID. Do you want to come to the hospital? And I was like, absolutely yes. Absolutely yes.
Like, not missing that opportunity.
Of course, you don't miss that opportunity. Not when your kid is going to die, potentially, the next time he's exposed. We had to sign a 3-year contract that we would stay and we would do this therapy because there are no interruptions. Even when they're sick, there's, like, minimal interruptions or it doesn't work. You get one shot to do this and that's it. So that's what we had to weigh. Like, we knew that Andre was supposed to PCS or move to a new duty station, and that duty station was in Illinois, north of Chicago. And so I did some research on some doctors. We were going to be put on another at least year-long wait list with those new doctors, and we had to make a choice. Like, what do? Do you save your kid's life? Potentially save your kid's life? Or do you stay a family?
Right.
What do you do? Like,
it's an impossible question.
It's an impossible question to answer. And we hummed and hawed and pros and cons. But I think deep down inside, we were like, this is the sacrifice that we make. And I would have done it 100 times.
Yeah.
We made the right choice. We did the right thing. So she took him early because we are pretty strict with our kids, and our kids follow that, right? So she knew, she did an interview with him. He was about 3.5 years old. And she's like, yeah, I think he'll do it as long as you guys enforce it. Let's go. But just remember, this is your opportunity. This is your chance. Yeah. So everybody's all in or they're all out.
Yeah.
So we did it, and he did not have a single reaction. He's a wild card. I don't think every single child does not have a reaction doing this. He did not. And they will tell you, like, it can take 6 to 12 months for the progression of this therapy. It took him 5.5 months from start to finish to complete all of the dosing. And so now he eats peanut butter every single day. He starts his day with a tablespoon of peanut butter mixed with the Biscoff cookie butter. And we've never, ever seen a reaction.
That's amazing.
And like I said, like, for what we have had to sacrifice, has it been hard? Yeah, it's been very hard, but I would have done it that way.
Yeah. Every single time. Can you touch on what happened? So you started this therapy and then Andre has to move, right? Like during this process.
Yep. So once a week we're at the hospital doing updosing, which is no like in and out thing. Like they have to get their updose. They have to be observed for an hour in case there's a reaction. Like it is a whole thing. And so now he's gone. And we're doing this. And in the meantime, we had bought a house. And so we got all moved in and everything's great. Our daughter's in a new school. We're in a new house. We're finishing therapy. Everything's going great. And now because we're contracted, we have to do like all of these annual follow-ups and all of this stuff. It was really hard on the kids. It's been really hard on the kids. So our 3-year contract comes and goes. And then we have to make a choice. We're talking about 12 to 18 more months of this. And at this point, he thought he was going to be able to get stationed back here. And he was not.
Yep.
He had to stay. He's currently in Wichita. And so he had to stay. He has to ride it out in Wichita. And again, another impossible choice. Do you pack up your family? We know we want to retire here. And we are like just moments away from retirement. My husband's retiring January 1st of 2026. Woo! And we are so excited. But at that 18-month mark from retirement, we have to make this choice. Are we going to really pack up our children and move them to Wichita so we can be together to turn around and retire here? Like, what do you do with your house? What do you do? So, we just figured the easiest thing is to just keep doing what we're doing. I mean, at this point, the kids are used to it. You don't ever get used to it. But it's what the kids know. So it's not as difficult, I guess. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a lie. It's difficult. Yeah. It's what they know, and it's what they're used to. And, we talked to Raina a lot about it. Do you want to move? Do you want to move to Wichita? And she's like, no, I don't want to go. I have all my friends here, and I have all my activities here. And so...
Yeah, and it's one of those situations where it's like, no matter what you choose, it's going to be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So do you choose the difficult that they already know? And like you said, they're kind of used to it. That's not the best word to use, but it's the difficult that they already know, right? That they have become adjusted to, in a sense. Like, of course, it's never easy, but at least this is the home they know. It's where they're comfortable. They have their friends, and like they lose all of that.
Right.
They gain dad more, but they still lose all of the other things.
And my parents, Gammy and Papa, they are like, the second parents.
Yeah.
And we moved to Wichita, and instead of seeing them every day, they see them once a month. And so we really had to weigh a lot of those things. But it's March. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
It's March. Like, we're so close.
Yeah.
That
the countdown is on for sure.
Yeah.
And I know, I was so shocked to hear you say that, like, what you guys have been together for 13 years and you have lived apart for more than half of it, right?
More than half of it.
More than half of it at this point. And so now retirement is coming in way less than a year at this point. Like I said, we're counting down, and everyone who knows and loves you is counting down with you because we are all so excited for this. We all love Andre, and we are so excited for you and the kids to get to have him home, and just for us to get to have him home with you too, right? Because like we all love having him around and seeing you happy and the kids happy. And so like we all can't wait for that for you too. But then also, like, this will get talked about on the podcast, reintegration, right?
Reintegration is so hard.
That's like Annie's new chaos, right? So like you've been living the chaos of a military wife doing things solo, and you're not a single parent, but a lot of times you live life as a single parent, and you have the chaos of that. And now you're going to have the chaos of almost having a new husband, almost like getting remarried after you've been a single mom. There's so many things that are going to come up for you that would come up for a single parent who's getting remarried or something. So it's going to be so interesting, and it's going to give us a lot of great chaos conversation.
And he's like a whole foot taller than me.
Yeah.
Which, like, you don't think that there's like that big of a difference, but like where the laundry soap goes and where things go in the kitchen. Like, I'm 5'4", he's 6'2". When he's home for like more than just a weekend, it gets really interesting around here.
Yes, for sure. So it's such a good thing that he's going to be here, but there's also just an adjustment period that everyone is going to go through. And so, it's going to be funny. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be all the things. And hopefully he'll deal with us using him for some content.
Right. Oh yeah, we'll get him on here. He's actually Jamaican, so he's got a really great accent, and he's got a very deep voice.
He does. It's going to be great. He will have a lot of fun on here. Yeah, so I mean, that really brings us up to like today and what's been going on, and all of your different eras of chaos.
All of the different ones. And it's been a wild ride, but I wouldn't change anything because I've really had an amazing opportunity to meet so many people, and just I feel truly blessed by all of the friends from New York to Indianapolis to Georgia, and then coming back here again. And just, you think when you come back home, I have all of these friends already, I'm not really going to make any other friends. Boy, was I wrong about that. And then I meet a friend in Indianapolis, Ricky, I'm shouting you out here. And right before we bought our house, she sends me a text, and she's like, hey, she's living in Ohio. She had also left Indy, was living in Ohio, and she sent me a text, and she's like, what are the odds that you're going to be in Iowa? Because she knows our life, that we move all the time. What are the odds that you're going to be in Iowa for a couple more years? And I was like, well, it's funny that you ask, because we just put an offer in on a house. Kids and I are staying in Iowa for sure. And they moved here. They moved to Iowa. And sadly, last February, they moved away. I'm working very hard on getting them back. But that was incredible too. It's so funny how life like does this little thing where it just like incorporates all things some way, somehow.
Yeah.
So
how paths can cross and cross again. And
it's never really over.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with the listeners so they can just get to know you better. It's going to be really cool. Like, listeners can go on to Instagram or Facebook and go ask questions or leave any comments, and
please do
connect with her. If you're a fellow military mom, wife, if you have experienced any similar chaos stories or have any questions for her, she has such amazing techniques for relocation and waiting on dad to come home and different things that we didn't even get to touch on today because there's just so much to share. And so I know that she's like super happy to share all of her tips and tricks with listeners. But before we head out, we have something fun that we want to do. And so we are going to ask Annie some fun questions. So first, what is your favorite hobby?
Ooh, besides martial arts, I love martial arts. Besides that, I would say cozy reading. If you have never done cozy reading, you are not doing it right. I do a Kindle. I was a very firm book reader. I needed pages. I needed to flip pages. And then I jumped into the Kindle world where you have a Kindle holder and then a page turning remote. So now my hands don't get cold when I'm reading, and I can curl up in a blanket and I can turn the pages with my remote, and I call it cozy reading. And we can absolutely link what a Kindle holder is and a remote, and you should do that because cozy reading is the best.
I love it. I love it. And I think you shared a photo of you cozy reading.
I did.
on your personal page the other day on Instagram, right? Mm-hmm. And oh my gosh, people were like in love with this concept.
Yep.
And everybody was, oh my gosh, where do I get that device? And I'm going to join you in cozy reading.
Yep, we will bond over cozy reading.
Yes, it was brilliant. Okay, so then I want you to tell our listeners, what is your least favorite thing in the world?
Oh, least favorite thing. Hearing humans chew food. Like aggressively mouth open chewing. There's a word for that. I can't think of what that word is. It puts so much rage and anger inside of my body. I cannot stand it. Now, I say human because one of my favorite things in the whole world is to hear dogs doing their chomp chomps. I love that. That is like ASMR for me. I love it. Those reels where they like have dogs try foods. Give me all of that. Send me all of those videos because that is my absolute favorite.
I think that is so funny.
I love it. Yeah. And my other least favorite is the M word. After you have worked in healthcare, MOIST is the worst word ever.
Yeah.
I don't like that one either. So don't leave me that word, because I don't like it.
I don't love that word either. And I said it explaining something to Annie one time, and she's like, don't say that word to me. So we avoid that word. Okay, and so then one more fun thing, just because we thought this would be fun as we're getting to know our listeners and have our listeners know us. So we're going to do a quick rapid fire, this or that. So we're going to get to know Annie a little bit better real quick. 13 questions. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. Burgers or tacos?
Tacos.
Stay up late or wake up early?
Wake up early.
Fiction or nonfiction?
Absolutely fiction.
Indoors or outdoors?
Outdoors, but not eating outdoors. I don't like eating. I mean, like picnic, yes, but like at a restaurant, absolutely not indoors.
Planned or spontaneous?
Ooh, I am super type A and I love planned, but I have to say over the last year, spontaneous has been my jam.
Okay. Camping or glamping?
Glamping.
Painful truth or comforting lie?
Painful truth.
Introvert or extrovert?
Introvert. No, just kidding. Outrovert.
Extrovert, yes.
Extrovert. Outrovert.
Can you tell we've been recording our outro lately?
Yep.
Okay. See the future or change the past?
Ooh, see the future.
Sweet or salty?
Salty.
Okay. Be always slightly cold or slightly warm?
Slightly cold. Beach
or mountains?
Oof. I'm married to a Jamaican.
I know.
But I like mountains.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm going to say yes.
You're just saying yes to that one.
Yes.
Okay, that's fair. Letter or emails?
Snail mail.
Snail mail.
I love snail mail.
Okay. All right. That's it for the this or that. So next time, Caitlin, Commander K, I'm going to dive into my story and let you get to know a little bit about me. So
I can't wait.
That's the plan for next time. All right, Chaos Crew, that's a wrap for today. If you loved this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow commanders.
Don't forget, we're all in this together. Join the conversation in our Chaos Commanders community on Instagram and Facebook, where we keep it real, raw, and ridiculously fun.
Remember, our fears establish the limits of our lives, so go push past them.
And always leave others better than you found them.